Hello and welcome back to successWerk, the Success Factory. My name is Felix Boecker, and I am, of course, your very own success coach on this journey we call life. Now, one thing I have come to realize lately is that we have 4 brains. Yes, you heard me right. We have 4 brains that we consult with when we make decisions. And I want to introduce you to what these 4 brains are and the order in which you should consult them when making decisions. When making decisions in your own life, whether that's your personal life or in your professional life, at work, at church, in your social circles, take these 4 brains into consideration and ask yourself, which brain are you utilizing to make the decision you are about to make? And take all 4 brains into consideration. I will also share with you the order in which you should consult with them if you don't immediately know how to approach a given problem and how to make a given decision. So let me back up for a second to set the stage for you. I'm a hobby hacker, right? I grew up on Linux on my computers, and I hacked a little bit, and I got involved with the Google developer seed in the late 2000s. I got one of the beta Chromebook products sent to my house to play around with it before Chromebooks became a thing. So I come a little bit from the software world. Not that I've ever worked in software. It's just a hobby of mine that I've always enjoyed. Helping make computers help me in a way that makes my life easier. Nowadays, I really only play around with Google Scripts a little bit to expand the products that Google itself is offering, and you can see some of my work in these simple tools on the website. Those are still very much a work in progress, but the stuff is out there and ready for use. Just know that there's a few bugs I want to squash and a few features I still want to add to all this stuff that is up on my website. But enough of software. Um, the reason I bring this up, in the software world, when you talk about developing software, there's this principle of first in, first out, or last in, last out, abbreviated as FIFO and LILO. And that has to do with memory management on the hardware side of things and how the software interfaces with it. Simply stated, if you have a serial amount of data that you generate, that you save in memory somewhere, in the first in, first out scenario, the first data you put into memory is also the first data you're going to get back out. In the last in, last out, it's the last piece of data that you put into memory that's also then the last piece that you get out. Why do I bring this up? Hear me out. This first in, first out, and last in, last out colloquially got turned into garbage in, garbage out, right? And you may have heard that somewhere on the interwebs, GIGO, GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. Personally, for me, I like SISO, and I will leave you to figure out what the S stands for. Even though I'm well versed in 4-letter words, I'm trying to keep this podcast somewhat clean so I don't have to check the adult audience only marker when I post the podcast. So SISO, garbage in, garbage out. So the reason this becomes important because the mnemonic that I have come up with for the 4 brains, and also the order in which you should consult them with, is CICO. Now you can see the similarities there, right? From FIFO, LILO to CISO now, CICO. Those are the 4 brains that our bodies use to make decisions. So it's not just the stuff in your head. There's 4 brains that we consult with in our bodies, and whenever we make a decision. Now, what are these 4 brains? The first brain, the first C, stands for core, corazón, your heart, right? That's the one right here. And that's also the first brain you should consult with whenever you make a decision. So let me give you a great example that just came out of my own personal life. My girlfriend is a school counselor, and trust me, I had no idea all the work that school counselors do. They do all the schedules for all the students at their school. They not only provide the mental and emotional support for the students, they also provide substitute teaching whenever a teacher is out, right? They may have to fill in some holes on the teaching side of things. In addition to that, they plan and schedule and organize a whole bunch of curriculum meetings, career development options for the students. So school counselors do a tremendous amount of work that takes them throughout the building all day long, things that I never really was aware of. Mind truly blown on my end. And so my girlfriend had a master key that got her all around the building to do all the work that she needed to do in order to do her job right. Well, the school district decided that no one should have a master key other than the custodians and the administrative staff in the office for security reasons. And so her master key was taken away from her. Now, this had two implications for her. Number one is her job has become infinitely harder because a lot of doors are locked for security reasons. And for her now to go through the building and do the job that she has to do, now she has to call security or someone else to help her open doors and wait for them to show up, which really is incredibly inefficient. But more importantly, her safety is an issue as well. So a couple of weeks ago, there was an active shooter drill at her school, and it just absolutely boggles my mind that we have to have active shooter drills in our public schools. Growing up in Germany, I was never exposed to guns, and I was somewhat sheltered, I guess, here in the United States when I went to a small private school to finish out high school. But the idea that our students have to go through active shooters training in order how to respond to the idea of someone actually bringing a gun or weapons into a building is just mind-boggling. But that's a whole nother issue. So the point is she had a active shooter drill at her school, and she was now in the hallway with nothing but locked doors around her. And where was she supposed to go? The active shooter drill curriculum says you find the nearest office to hide inside. Well, how can you do that if the doors are locked and you don't have a key? So she brought this issue up with her administrative staff, who essentially just said, go fish. Just walk out of the building when that happens. So they made their decision not from the heart because they did not care for the efficiency of her job, all the stuff that she's doing for the students and the administrative staff to make sure the school keeps functioning smoothly, as well as the safety of her. Right? If she was stuck in a hallway with an active shooter, guess what? She is, of course, victim number one because she is fully exposed. And the administrative staff did not care about that because the decision they made about the master key did not come from the heart. If you truly love the people who work for you, as human beings, as individuals who have their own lives to live, and you make decisions from the heart out of love for the people who you are making decisions for, you would obviously see this person needs a master key in order to do the job right, in order to be safe at work. Has nothing to do with we have to make sure to limit access, right? That's complete bullshit. So the first brain is your heart. Make decisions from the heart. And I keep saying that. It's the same thing in my coaching practice. What makes a good coach is love. Love for another human being. A love to want to understand what my clients truly want to get out of the relationship, what my clients truly want to accomplish in their lives, the dreams that they have. A love to truly be curious about their dreams and hopes and desires. A love to understand how we can make those dreams, hopes, and desires become a reality. And a love to be able to push these people just enough in order for them to realize their hopes, dreams, and desires. Because the way I approach my coaching practice is through love. My decisions are made from the heart because that's the first brain you should consult with any decisions that you make. Now, the second brain follows very closely to that. So the I now stands for your intestines, your gut, that gut feeling that you sometimes get when you make a decision. You have to listen to your gut. Your gut actually has hundreds of millions of neurons running throughout of it. And if you think about the fact that the simplest of brains that we know of only require a few hundred neurons to even function, you can see that your gut actually is a brain of its own. It doesn't quite function the way the brain up here functions, or at least we think we understand it functions, but there is some truth to that gut feeling. It is based on a neuronal response, right? It comes from the nerves that are lining our gut. And so whenever you have to make a decision, listen to your gut. What is your gut trying to tell you? There truly is something to the gut feeling. Like I said, there's hundreds of millions of neurons in your gut, and you don't need that much to even form the simplest of simple of brains. So this is much more complex than a simple brain. It's just a different structure, and atomically, it looks different. Physiologically, we think the gut serves a different function, right? Food absorption, water absorption, nutrient absorption. But in reality, there's a much more important component to all of it, which is regulating your emotions, regulating your thoughts. And that's the gut feeling that I want you to lean into as the second brain. So whenever you have a big decision to make, if you cannot make the decision from your heart, coming from love, well, then you have to consult your gut. What is your gut telling you the right decision in this situation is? The third brain that I want you to consult whenever you have to make a decision is your brain. Okay, so the C stands for cranium or cerebrum. It's the brain up here between our ears. That's the one we all think of. Now, our brains are flawed in many ways. Our brains are also incredible in many ways. But when we try to use logic to apply to certain situations, it doesn't always work. And especially if you're dealing with other human beings, logic isn't always the right answer, which is why this brain only comes in third behind your heart and your gut whenever I want you to make decisions about anything in your life. So let's think about this scenario, for example. You're out to buy a car. You're looking for a new car. Well, what are you trying to accomplish with the car? If your only goal with the car is to get from A to B and keep your monthly payments as low as possible, well, that's a decision you're probably going to make with logic through your brain. But more importantly, and more often than not, you are looking for the car to do something else for you. Maybe it needs to transport your family. You need to have enough room and space and comfort for the other people you will be driving around in that car. And that decision then comes from your heart. Will this car meet the demands that I have for my family, that my family has from me, that we all have for this car? Now, of course, the second brain here that you need to consult is your gut. You're looking at a car, and maybe you're buying a used car, and you just get a weird feeling about this particular car in front of you. It's your gut telling you, I don't know, there's something wrong about this. You got to lean into that. Okay? Because if you consult your logic brain and your logic brain tells you, oh, the payments are low, the car on paper looks right, you've bypassed that very important second brain, which is your gut, right? Your intestine. That gut feeling is telling you, it's giving you a warning. There is not something wrong about that car. And you may not know what that is today. Maybe you will never find out. But perhaps you will. But you got to listen to your gut before you listen to your brain, before making that decision. And then, of course, you consult with your third brain. Do the payments make sense? Does the premium that you pay on your insurance make sense? How much does it cost to operate and own this car, right? Those are then logic questions you have to consult with your third brain, which is up here. But your first brain that you consult with is your heart, then your intestines, and only then the logic thinking cerebrum that you have up here. Which brings us to the fourth brain, the O, which are your gonads. It's the stuff between your legs for all you non-medical folks. And I'll leave you to figure out what the O stands for. I think it's pretty easy to figure that out once you know that I'm talking about the stuff between your legs. We all make decisions with those parts of our body sometimes, right? Especially if we're singling out at the bar, we might be making decisions with that part of the brain instead of the other three, which more often than not we end up regretting the next day. So it is a thinking brain. It is having its own function. It can be useful in some situations for our own individual pleasures, but it is the last brain you should consult with. Even in those situations where you're single at the bar and lonely on a Friday night. Because think about it. If you went through that scenario where you find yourself single, lonely, at a bar, and you find an attractive other human being that you want to get to know more, ask your heart first. Does this feel like the right kind of person that I want to get to know? And you may need to get to know them a little bit first, right? There's always a little bit of chit chat involved with that. Do you get the right gut feeling about this person? Is there something about that that doesn't seem right? Then you can consult your logic brain. Does this make sense? Am I getting myself into trouble here? Maybe there's an ulterior motive from the other person, right? Maybe they just want you to pick up their bar tab. Maybe there's diseases that you might be able to get from that interaction at some point that could impact your life down the road, right? So there's some logic you got to think about before you make the biologic decision to go home with that person at the end of the night. So your fourth brain, that O, is the last one you should consult with, even in those situations where it screams the loudest. So anyways, those are the four brains that we have. Those are the four brains, and also the order in which you should consult them with anytime you have to make a big decision in your life. So to recap again, it's your core, your corazon, your heart to start out with, your intestines, your gut next, then your cerebrum, your cranium, your brain up here, and finally the O stuff down there. So what do you think? How does this change the way you make decisions in your own life by considering these four brains and the order CICO in which you consult them with? How would that change some of the big decisions you are making in your own life? Reach out to me and let me know. I'd be curious to know what your thoughts are, what your reactions are. Maybe share some experiences where you can relate to these four brains and you can truly see how going through this chain of brains has made your decisions better. Or maybe you've made poor decisions as a result of skipping one or the other. Reach out to me and let me know. I'm really curious to hear your story and your experience as a result of these four brains. Keep in mind, I am a success coach. I'm here to help you succeed in life. If you want to know more, reach out to me, DM me. I'm most active on LinkedIn, but you can reach me through my website and via email as well. Pretty easy to reach, I would say. If you like this content, please like, share, subscribe, rate and review, all those things, because it helps me reach more people. And the more people I can reach, the more people I can help. And that's really all I want to do. I want to help more people just like you who is listening to this episode. And thank you for sticking around all the way to the end. I truly appreciate you being here. I can't thank you enough. Again, reach out to me. I want to hear your thoughts and experiences. And until next time, don't forget to unleash your genius.